YouTube. What is poppin' today? In this video, we are going to be discussing how Godzilla fights in the Marvel Universe, and it's insane. And his first opponent is going to be the Hulk. So how this chapter begins is we are at the Thunderbolt Ranch, which is a anti-kaiju task force who seems to have already taken down some kaiju already. We do see Fin Fang Foam Skull in the background, but they decided to take on their most dangerous mission, which is to pacify Godzilla, which confuses the press with them asking if he is talking about euphemism or really pacifying him. But Ross doesn't take any more questions. That is when Jackson, who works for the Daily Bugle in Texas, asks if he has any comment on Americans that believe the Hulk is still alive. That is when we learn that the Thunderbolt Ranch extends down into the ground almost 80 stories, and there's a national secrets, eggheads, and monsters that Hulk will never see the light of day. But the Hulk is deader than Elvis. The 1980s is around the corner, but Thunderbolt Ross is still taking care of business. So you can see that the timeline is set in the 70s when he said the 1980s is all around the corner, that's pretty cool. Which then take us to the bunker where we see Dr. Bruce Banner and Demonicus. The interesting thing about this character, he appeared in Godzilla #4 in the Marvel Comics in 1977. So to me, this is probably around the time that this event is taking place at 1977. We are told that Bruce has learned to keep the Hulk in check by meditating, which in turn has kept the Hulk in check so far, which is why he was able to convince General Ross the Hulk is dead. But while they're down there, he asked Dr. Demonicus if the containment can hold Godzilla, which he replies, "Worry not, Bruce. My kaiju incinerator will be more than enough for the so-called king of the monsters. Just be sure you and Ross do your parts." We do get a preview of this plan when he head back over to General Ross in Jackson Gullies, where he said that Ross has killed Fin Fang Foom, Hulk, Surtur, and many others. But I'm not going to lie, that Surtur reveal is actually pretty crazy because he killed Surtur. Alright. But the plan is to lure Godzilla in a trap by a way of mind controlling Kumonga to web down and torture Mothra with her shrieks of pain were heartbreaking even to the most callous of hearts. The idea is Godzilla comes running when he hears Mothra screams. This has Dr. Banner objecting to this method because he deemed it too cruel, with Dr. Demonicus replying that you radiate weakness, Banner. All these abominations must be cleansed. My control over Kumonga may not last long, but the cries of Mothra will be too much for Godzilla to resist. They have shown camaraderie in the past. That's when Bruce asks, what happens when Godzilla is off the board? What will you do then? That is when Demonicus replies, look at me. Look at what this war has cost me. My body has been desecrated in this fight. I'm hollowed out from within. These kaiju have utterly destroyed me. Be grateful, Dr. Banner, that you have no idea what it's like to be a monster. But you can see Banner's face, and he's saying, you have no idea that I am a monster, and I do know what it's like, which I think is funny, his facial expression. But we do find out that Dr. Demonicus' plan worked, and he heard the cries of Mothra and ran over to help her out. There is a funny moment in here when we see a plane shooting Godzilla only to be smacked out of the sky by Godzilla. It was Samuel Stern who was in the plane. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I'm thinking, man, they got the leader trying to fight Godzilla. That's insane. There's another pilot who also goes by Samuel, was told by Ross to get the civilians to safety. He then screams to Banner to meet him at the barn, where they're getting ready to pilot their mechs. The lights for both are different, where Ross' light is red and Banner light is green. And Truthfully, y'all know the reference on what these mechs references are. And these mechs are rebuilt Mechagodzilla suits. It states that the rebuilt Mechagodzilla suit should be more than enough to take down Godzilla because they have been vastly improved by Tona. They no longer need to remote pilot the mechs. Also, we get a rest in peace to the Tony because Godzilla crushed them. I'm like, damn, they killed Tony. They killed Iron Man. But as soon as Banner and Ross engage Godzilla, he hits Banner with his atomic breath. Ross uses this as a distraction to get around Godzilla and hit him with some missiles. Now, some of the workers in the bunker are scared, and they have the right to be scared. They don't want to die knowing there's a possibility because there's a possibility that they could get trapped in here. But Dr. Demonicus is over here like, perhaps we will die today, but we're dragging Godzilla to hell with us. And the way they're probably thinking, like, no, you could drive Godzilla to hell with you. So what happens next is that they use mind control to get Kumanga to ignore Mothra and attack Godzilla with his webs. General Ross gets too close and with one tail swoop knocks Ross into Kumanga. That's when he calls for Banner, stating that he cannot do this himself. Meanwhile, Godzilla's back on his feet, ripping Kumanga webs off as it is as strong as steel. Godzilla proceeds to rip Banner's mech suit arm off and beat him with it. Ross mech catches an atomic breath to the face where Ross screams for Demonica to do something. This is where we get our first big twist. Demonica says, "It is time for me to do something. It is time for me to pay everyone back. The monsters and the men who have brought me to ruin. I have waited a long time to gather my enemies in one place. We have been hunting kaiju for a long time. Godzilla can't be controlled, but if I told you how I plan to kill him, you would never have let me. You see, I have been slowly breaking down the bodies of the monsters in my incinerator, but I've been creating life. It is a new monster, one that will cull the kaiju forever. And rather than a constant war for dominance, we will simply have one, a single dominant ruler." Right there is where Ross goes off. Damn it, Demonicus, what the hell claptrap are you spewing? If you hornswoggle me, and I'm thinking, hornswoggle, that sounds crazy. That's a real crazy word to be saying. Who the hell says hornswoggle? I mean, I'm just saying. When Demonicus was revealing his revelation, Ross and Banner could see what was going on. With Banner saying Demonicus didn't build a kaiju sarcophagus, it's an egg and it's hatching. When it hatches, it is Hedorah, the horrible amalgam of monsters. This is when Demonicus explained that I spliced the most deadly and robust traits of all the kaiju we slain, from Fing Fang Foom on downward. Death will be our salvation. Hedorah will be a scourge, but he will be the only one. I will have restored balance to the planet. My creations will be more than enough to take down the so-called king of monsters. So Hedorah and Godzilla begins duking it out, but during the scuffle, they ended up hitting Bruce mech. He is now trapped inside the suit, which was already damaged to begin with. During the fight, they begin to crush the hull, with Bruce stating that he wants to live, which, for the first time in years, Banner gave control to the Hulk. This is the 70s Hulk, so he has that childlike talking points where he says that he hates robots, he hates bugs, Hulk hates slime monster, and most of all, just as he punches Hedorah, Hulk this states that Puny better hides with Mustache Man. Banner works against Hulk with Thunderbolt. Hulk hates Puny Banner. Right here, we are learning some things from the Hulk after being released from Banner. Meanwhile, Banner, being Hulk, surprises Demonicus, who is wondering who they buried because they buried someone, but who? Hedorah is getting ready to kill Ross because he is melted through Ross' mech suit. But just in the nick of time, Hulk knocks Hedorah back and saves General Ross. Hulk laughs at Ross, stating that Ross hid behind his metal suit, pretending to be as strong as Hulk. Ross doesn't know what is more humiliating, being saved by Hulk or laughed at by the Hulk. I think it's laughed at by Hulk. I think that's a little bit more humiliating. I mean, the dude just literally laughed at you. Ross then asked a question that Demonicus had. If you're still alive, who is in the Hawk grave? That is when Hawk tells him Hawk is not the monster. Banner is. Banner always blames others for his problems. Bicycle Boy Rick Jones was his patsy. Well, we now know who was in the Hawk grave, and we also know that Banner is like a sick mofo. But Hawk takes off to fight Hedorah. Hedorah's winning the fight as he's penetrated deep through the soft spot in Godzilla's armor, his eyes. Hedorah was dissolving Godzilla faster than Godzilla could heal. Hawk ends up coming in with a punch only for it to burn his hands. This is when Demonic is like, Hawk, you small-minded dope. You can't fight Hedorah. He's the perfect creation, a child of my superior intellect and the DNA of hundreds of monsters slain by Thunderbolt Ross. Can you hear me through what is left of the Mechagodzilla's Hawk? I want you to know that soon you'll be as dead as Godzilla and all the rest. Hawk doubles down on what he said about Banner, stated that you all say Hawk a monster, but you are all wrong. That's when Hawk says that maybe you all were wrong about Godzilla too. Hawk uses an electro wire to help Godzilla get back into the fight, stating, I saw a battle tickle a heart with electricity once. Now, Dr. Hawk saves Godzilla. Now, I thought it was funny that he actually called himself Dr. Hawk. That's actually funny because now he's playing doctor. But it is here where we see that when he actually jump-started Godzilla's heart, he gave Godzilla some of his blood, which in turn causes Godzilla go through a new transformation, which he hawks out. Basically, he becomes Hawkzilla or Gammazilla. We could call him Gammazilla. He looks bigger, stronger, bulkier, and in an instant, he attacks Hedorah with a punch followed by an atomic breath. Godzilla releases everything he had, which in turn kills Hedorah, with some of his remains landing right where Demonicus was in the bunker ranch, burning him alive. Hawk heads over to Mothra Killmonger, helping them because Hawk knows what it's like to be used by humans, which leaves him and Godzilla, where he says he knows he's the strongest, but he doesn't want to prove it today. With their gamma rays subside, Hawk turns back to Banner, and Gammazilla, well, he turns back to Godzilla. Just as Godzilla walks away, we see Thunderbolt Ross confront Banner about setting Rick Jones to be the Hawk, getting Rick killed in the process, which I honestly can't really blame Ross because they killed Rick Jones thinking he's the Hawk because that's how Banner set it up. I'm like, Banner is a super douche. In this world, he's a douchebag. Godzilla sees Ross pointing the gun at Banner. He immediately gets defensive, staring Ross down, with Banner telling Ross, don't make Godzilla angry. We monsters stick together. Ross, I don't have any choices about the monster meat, but you can give yours up, Ross, if you're strong enough. And you can see Godzilla staring at Ross. He like, yeah, try some, and he gonna take this tail whip to the face. That's literally how he's looking. He's that tail itching. But the way it ends, it seems like there's a piece of Hedorah on Ross' gun, and that's how like basically this ends. And I will say this was an incredible one shot. It's interesting on how they did the world with Godzilla, where Godzilla's actually in the Marvel universe. He's not something that like an incursion or something. He actually lives in the Marvel. So that's pretty cool. But I want to know what you guys think about it. Did you guys enjoy this book like I did? Or do you have some criticism of the book? Or what do you think they could do better? And I will catch you guys on the next video. See ya.